Galileo Galileo. Galileo Galileo. That's right. This week in history, we're going to be looking at one of the discoveries of Galileo, the discovery of the moon Callisto. And it wasn't just the moon Callisto that he discovered, but there's actually 3, 4? You know what? I don't know. You're going to have to find out this week on the Wiki Review Weekly. Welcome to Wiki Review, where each week I explore a Wikipedia article about a historical event that happened this week in history. I explore it with you in a fun and conversational way, review sources to assess the article's credibility, and finish by spinning the roulette wheel to pick next week's topic. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. I'm Kaylee, and stick around as we dive into the Wiki Review. For the third week of 2005, this week in history, we are examining a scientific topic, and what we have chosen is Galileo's discovery of the moon of Jupiter, Callisto. And it wasn't just Callisto that Galileo actually found. In fact, he's actually outlined all of his discoveries in a book called, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation because I do not speak Latin, but the way I would say it as a native American English speaker is Sidereus Nuncius. And so today we are going to go on Wikipedia and review the article about Sidereus Nuncius, which also translates to Starry Messenger, which is what I'm going to be calling it throughout this entire reading for my own sanity. So sit back. Let's start looking through. The Starry Messenger is a short astronomical treatise or pamphlet published in Neo-Latin by Galileo Galilei on March 13th of 1610. It was the first published scientific work based on observations made through a telescope, and it contains the results of Galileo's early observations of the imperfect and mountainous moon, of hundreds of stars not visible to the naked eye in the Milky Way and in certain constellations, and of the Medicean stars, later Galilean moons that appeared to be circling Jupiter. The Latin word nuncius was typically used during this time period to denote messenger. However, it was also, though less frequently, rendered as message. Though the title Sidereus Nuncius is usually translated into English as Sidereus Messenger, many of Galileo's early drafts of the book and later related writings indicate that the intended purpose of the book was simply to report the news about certain developments in astronomy and not to pass himself off solely as an ambassador from heaven. Now, he used a telescope. The first telescopes appeared in the Netherlands in 1608 when Middelburg spectacle maker Hans Lippershey tried to obtain a patent on one. By 1609, Galileo had heard about it and built his own improved version. He probably was not the first person to aim the new invention at the night sky, but his was the first systematic and published study of celestial bodies using one. And one of Galileo's first telescopes had an 8x by 10x linear magnification and was made out of lenses that had grounded himself. This was increased to 20x linear magnification in the improved telescope he used to make observations in Starry Messenger. Now, Starry Messenger contains more than 70 drawings and diagrams of the moon, certain constellations such as Orion, the Pleiades, Antares, and the Medicean stars of Jupiter. Galileo's text also includes depictions, explanations, and theories for his observations. And I also want to point out that this particular pamphlet that he created, while it was published on March 13th, 1610, the actual discoveries that he made, it seems like he made most of them in January. There was a few of these that had a little bit of the dates are not completely known. It could have been in December, could have been in January. There's a lot of speculation about that. But it looks like the majority was made in the third week of January, maybe some in the second week of January, from just myself glancing at the sources. So that's just a quick note to add in there on my own. Well, let's talk about the moons. In observing the moon, Galileo saw that the line separating lunar day from night the terminator, was smooth where it crossed the darker regions of the moon, but quite irregular when it crossed the brighter areas. From this, he deduced that the darker regions are flat, low-lying areas, and that the brighter regions rough and mountainous. And this is where we have the first citation. It's citation number 3. We're actually going to wait until the end of the video to review some of these citations and assess this article for its own accuracy, so as not to interrupt the flow of the story. But I will point out where the citations are at as we read. Continuing onward, basing his estimate on the distance of sunlit mountaintops from the terminator, he judged quite accurately that the lunar mountains were at least 4 miles high. Galileo's engravings of the lunar surface provided a new form of visual representation besides shaping the field of selenography, the study of physical features on the moon. I did not know that that was what was called. Do any of you audience know what selenography was? Write in the comments below, because I actually never knew that. In regards to stars, Galileo reported that he saw at least 10 times more stars through the telescope than are visible to the naked eye, and he published star charts of the belt of Orion and the star cluster Pleiades, showing some of the newly observed stars. With the naked eye, observers could see only 6 stars in the Taurus cluster, though his telescope, however, Galileo was capable of seeing 35, almost 6 times as many. And when he turned his telescope on Orion, he was capable of seeing 80 stars rather than the previous observed 9, almost 9 times more. In Starry Messenger, Galileo revised or reproduced these 2 star groups by distinguishing between the stars seen without the telescope and those seen with it. Also, when he observed some of the nebulous stars in the Ptolemaic star catalog, he saw that rather than being cloudy, they were made of mini stars. And from this, he deduced that the nebulae and the Milky Way were congeries of innumerable stars grouped together in clusters too small and distant to be resolved into individual stars by the naked eye. In regards to the Medicean stars, which are also called the moon of Jupiter, in the last part of the Starry Messenger, Galileo reported his discovery of 4 objects that appeared to form a straight line of stars near Jupiter. On the first night, he detected a line of 3 little stars close to Jupiter, parallel to the ecliptic. The following nights brought different arrangements and another star into his view, totaling 4 stars around Jupiter. And this part has another citation. It's citations number 11 and 3. We will come back to that later. Throughout the text, Galileo gave illustrations of the relative positions of Jupiter and its apparent companion stars as they appeared nightly from late January through early March 1610. That they changed their positions relative to Jupiter from night to night and yet always appeared in the same straight line near it, he persuaded Galileo that they were orbiting Jupiter. And on January 11th, after 4 nights of observation, he wrote, "I therefore concluded and decided unhesitantly that there are 3 stars in the heavens moving about Jupiter as Venus and Mercury round the sun, which at length was established as clear as daylight by numerous subsequent observations. These observations also established that there are not only 3, but 4 erratic sidereal bodies performing the revolutions around Jupiter. The revolutions are so swift that an observer may generally get differences of position every hour." In his drawings, Galileo used an open circle to represent Jupiter and asterisks to represent the 4 stars. He made this distinction to show that there was in fact a difference between the 2 types of celestial bodies. It is important to note that Galileo used the terms planet and star interchangeably, and that both words were correct usage within the prevailing astrotralian terminology. What a word there. Also, I didn't know that they were using stars and planets interchangeably back during those times. That's very interesting. At the time of the Sidereus Nuncius publication, Galileo was a mathematician at the University of Padua and had recently received a lifetime contract for his work in building more powerful telescopes. He desired to return to Florence, and in hopes of gaining patronage there, he dedicated Sidereus Nuncius to his former pupil, now the Grand Duke of Tuscany, Cosimo II de' Medici. In addition, he named his discovered 4 moons of Jupiter the Medicean Scars in honor of the 4 royal Medici brothers. Really? Oh, wow. Okay. This helped him receive the position of chief mathematician and philosopher to the Medici at the University of Pisa. Ultimately, his effort at naming the moons failed, for they are now referred to as the Galilean moons. And you know what? Honestly, let's honor Galileo over the Medicis. I mean, he discovered this. Like, dude earned this. And I mean, I get it. He did it for political reasons so that he could actually get a position at the University of Pisa. But, you know, I'm glad we're honoring him. He deserves the credit for this more than his patrons. Or the patronins. Whatever that word is. Man, I'm really stumbling over my words today. That's fine. Let's go over to the reception of this discovery that he made on week 3 back in the 1600s. Anyway, the reaction to Starry Messenger. The reactions to Starry Messenger, ranging from appraisal and hostility to disbelief, soon spread throughout Italy and England. Many poems and texts were published expressing love for the new form of astronomical science. 3 works of art were even created in response to Galileo's book. Adam Ellesmere's The Flight into Egypt, 1610, contested by Keith Andrews. Ludovico Sugoli's Assumption of the Virgin, 1612. And Andrea Sacchi's Divine Wisdom, 1631. In addition, the discovery of the Medicean scars fascinated other astronomers, and they wanted to view the moons for themselves. Their efforts set the stage for the modern scientific requirement of experimental reproducibility by independent researchers. Very good. Very good. Verification versus falsibility saw that origins in the announcement of the Starry Messenger. But many individuals and communities were skeptical. A common response to the Medicean stars was simply to say that the telescope had a lens defect and was producing illusory points of light and images, and those saying that it completely denied the existence of the moons. Really? They denied that? There's a citation here. It's citation number 13, and we're going to take a look at that citation later. I would like to find out who is denying the existence of Jupiter's moons. Come on, guys. Get with the times. I guess, I guess they don't want to get with the times because it goes against their beliefs or the church or whatever. I'm wondering if the church is going to start popping up here at any point because they generally didn't like all this scientific stuff back at the time. Anyway, let's continue onward. That only a few could initially see and verify what Galileo had observed supported the supposition that the optical theory during this period could not clearly demonstrate that the instrument was not deceiving the senses. By naming the 4 moons after the Medici brothers and convincing the Grand Duke Cosimo II of his discoveries, the defense of Galileo's reports became a matter of state. Moron notes, quote, "The court itself became actively involved in pursuing the confirmation of Galileo's observations by paying Galileo out of its treasury to manufacture spy glasses that could be sent through ambassadorial channels to the major courts of Europe." I really wish there was a citation for that quote, but there does not appear to be a citation there, and that's a strike off of the credibility of this article, because I really feel like if you're going to have a direct quote like that from that long ago, you should have a source to be able to back yourself up, at least a source that claims that he said that. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's continue. The first astronomer to publicly support Galileo's flyers was Johannes Kepler, who published an open letter in April 1610, enthusiastically endorsing Galileo's credibility. It was not until August 1610 that Kepler was able to publish his independent confirmation of Galileo's findings due to the scarcity of sufficiently powerful telescopes. Several astronomers, such as Thomas Harriot, Joseph, I'm going to butcher all of these names, are also getting into French, and unfortunately, I'm terrible at French, everyone. I'm absolutely awful at saying French names, so gotta give it my best shot. I apologize to all the French out there for what I'm about to say. Nicolas Claude Fabre de Pilesic and Simon Maurice published their confirmation of the Medicean stars, and Jupiter became visible again in the autumn of 1610. Oh, also Joseph Gualter de la Vatelle, Vatelle, Vatelle. Yeah, Joseph Vatelle. Oh, sexy. I mean, I don't know if he was sexy. Just, it sounds like a sexy name, you know? Joseph Vatelle. All right. Anyway, they published shit. I mean, it was good stuff, I guess. They published a lot. Anyway, man, tangents. All right. Marius, a German astronomer who had studied with Tycho Brahe, was the first to publish a book of his observations. Marius attacked Galileo and Mundus Jovialis, which is published in 1614, by insisting that he found Jupiter's 4 moons before Galileo, and that had been observing them since 1609. Marius believed that he therefore had the right to name them, which he did. He named them after Jupiter's love conquest: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. So that's how Callisto is getting in on here. Interesting. But Galileo was not confounded. He pointed out that being outside the church, Marius had not yet accepted the Gregorian calendar and was still using the Julian calendar. Therefore, the night Galileo first observed Jupiter's moons was January 7th, 1610 on the Gregorian calendar, December 28th, 1609 on the Julian calendar, and Marius claimed to have first observed Jupiter's moons on December 29th, 1609. Although Galileo did indeed discover Jupiter's 4 moons before Marius, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto are now the names of Galileo's 4 moons. And by 1626, knowledge of the telescope had spread to China, where German Jesuit and astronomer Johann Adam Schall von Ball published Yuanjing Shu, explanation of the telescope in Chinese and Latin. This whole thing with the calendar, this makes so much sense, because I was finding so much that was saying like January the 13th, and I was saying January 14th, and then suddenly January 7th. But his discoveries had started in December, but they continued through February. And I mean, I guess it's just like there's like, I mean, it is the 1600s, right? So dating is a lot harder than it is today. And I mean, who knows what things are accurate, but wow, that's insanely interesting. It's wild, though. It's absolutely wild with what they did back at the calendars. Anyway, another tangent. Here we go. We're getting into my favorite part that I've been anticipating this is going to happen, but there's a whole section here titled "Controversy with the Catholic Church." So let's dive into this one. It says, Galileo's drawings of an imperfect moon directly contradicted Ptolemy's and Aristotle's cosmological descriptions of perfect and unchanging heavenly bodies made of quintessence, the 5th element in ancient and medieval philosophy of which celestial bodies are composed. Before the publication of Sidereus Nuncius, the Catholic Church accepted the Copernican heliocentric system as strictly mathematical and hypothetical. However, once Galileo began to speak of the Copernican system, like Copernicus. It's my own personal breakthrough. Just bear with me here. I figured out a word. So smart. I have a master's degree. I still struggle and trip over words. Anyway, the system as fact rather than theory. So anyway, however, once Galileo began to speak of the you know what, we're just not going to say that word anymore, system as fact rather than theory, it introduced a more chaotic system, a less than godly lack of organization. Oh, can't have that. In fact, the Copernican system that Galileo believed to be real challenged the scripture, which referred to the sun rising and the earth as unmoving. The conflict ended in 1633 with Galileo being sentenced to a form of house arrest by the Catholic Church. However, by 1633, Galileo had published other works in support of the Copernican view, and these were largely what caused his sentencing. Then we have a section here that is a list of different translations of his works. For your own sanity and mine, I won't read that out loud. You can check that one out on your own. But that outlines Galileo's discoveries. Stick around after this break. We're going to take a look at 3 of the sources and assess what we think of the sources and what I think of the overall accuracy and academic viability of this article on Wikipedia. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. As you may know, this is a brand new channel, and your likes and subscribes make a huge difference in helping me grow and get noticed by the famous YouTube algorithm. Now, who knows, maybe with your support, we'll even catch the attention of some sponsors down the road. So, if you like this video so far, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. And if you forgot, I'm your host, Kaylee. I was conducting PhD research at Vrije University Amsterdam before moving to YouTube, but I'm also a professional visual and performing artist. You can actually see some of my artwork here up on the screen, and several of my original works are actually for sale on my Etsy store. I have some on the screen that you can take a look at, but I would rather you to go check it out on Etsy. I've got a variety of original paintings, handmade jewelry, and prints available, and it's a great way to bring a little bit of art into your life. The link to my Etsy store is in the description and below. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/wikireviewweekly. And thanks again for being here. Like and subscribe to this channel, and let's continue. All right, so we're going to go back and take a look at the citations that I had marked earlier. The first citation that I marked was citation number 3, which you will actually see that citation number 3 comes up a lot throughout this entire article. And I think part of the reason for this is this article is relatively short compared to many Wikipedia articles. And that is probably the reason why we're seeing this one pop up so much. However, I do find it worrisome whenever we only find 1 to 10 different citations on articles, because I feel like there should be more things cited. But again, this could be because it is a short article. And the first one was citation number 3. It was talking about his observations of the moon and how they had mountains or not. And it is by Massimo Mazzotti, Faking Galileo, and LARB Quarterly. Looking that up down here, flipping over to it. If you can't see it on the screen, I'm flipping through different screens to get to the actual source. And apparently LARB stands for Los Angeles Review of Books. And this is following a feature article from a newly released quarterly journal edition. Okay, so there's an actual journal in here. Okay. This looks like an alright academic source to use. I would probably use this if I was conducting my own research into this particular topic. I think that this is a credible source that you could use. I wouldn't use it as heavily as it is used in this article without other sources available, but I would say source number 3, yeah, that is a very good source. So now let's take a look at our next source that we had. Our next source was source number 11. And it was talking about how on the first night he detected a line of 3 stars close to Jupiter that were parallel to the ecliptic. And the following nights brought different arrangements of another star into the view, and it came to a total of 4 stars around Jupiter. And you can see, once again, there are 2 different citations here, but the first one is that citation we just reviewed, which was citation number 3. So right now, we're going to take a look at citation number 11. Citation number 11, I have a feeling this might be a reprint of Sidereus Nuncius. Let's take a look here. Number 3. No, oh, sorry, number 11. We're on number 11. And yeah. It is a not as old of a copy, obviously, because I'm sure there's very few copies that we have around from the 1600s, but this appears to be a scanned copy of the Sidereus Messenger by Galileo. Let's see if we can find a year of this one. This is, oh wow, that's very old. I don't see a year on here, but the fact is this is a reprint of the primary source, and this would be considered a primary source because this is literally Galileo's writings. So this is what Galileo said. This is a primary source. 100% you can definitely use this whenever you are conducting academic research, especially when you're actually showing what was actually written within that source to begin with. That being said, remember, there have been a lot of discoveries since this original Sidereus Messenger, so it might not be as fully scientifically accurate because we know more things than we do today. So if you were trying to find something that was very accurate about the moon, that they might not have discovered that yet, so I wouldn't use it for that type of citation, but I would definitely use it as a primary source citation if you were citing something that Galileo actually said. Overall, that is a very, very good source. And then lastly, I was going to look at source number 13, and it is about the reception of the telescope that he used and the possibility that perhaps there were some flaws within the telescope itself. And that becomes number 13. It seems that it is called the source is called The Appearance of the Medicean Moons in 17th Century Charts and Books. How Long Did It Take? From 2010 by M. Mendillo. And this one I tried to look up actually right before filming this because these links that are on the Wikipedia article, they lead to what appears to be some sort of paywall behind that. And the closest I was able to get to the source was this right here. It appears it is published online by Cambridge University Press, and it looks like it was in a series of proceedings from the International Astronomical Union, Volume 6, Symposium S269, and that would also this is like proceedings that were probably done. I'm assuming from some sort of conference that went on, but this looks like a very legitimate source as well. Overall, when I'm looking at all these sources, I have to say that the 3 sources that I have sampled out of this entire article, they all seem very spot on. I haven't had a problem with the source content itself. My one problem that I do have, though, is that for this entire article that we have, there are only 19 sources. Now, that being said, actually, if I start scrolling in the article, it's really not that long of an article, so I guess that is acceptable. I will give this one on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the best for academic use, and then 1 is the lowest, as in I would never ever use these sources in academic writing. I don't think Wikipedia is right at all. I would give this one an 8. It's not a perfect 10 because I do kind of feel like more sources could have been used, but then again, it is a short article. But all the sources that I sampled, which were 3 out of the 19, those 3 sources, those look pretty spot on. And just doing a cursory glance here at these 19 sources, I mean, I'm seeing a faculty page. I'm seeing something from JSTOR going on here. Just a cursory glance at the citations themselves, it looks pretty legitimate. Overall, I think this was a pretty good article to trust Wikipedia with. Good job, Wiki. Hey, if you like this video or topic, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you saw anything in the Wikipedia article that you think is incorrect, needs editing, or something you just think is cool, write it in the comments below. Now, let's spin the roulette wheel and see what next week's topic is going to be. All right, let's go ahead and find out what type of topic we are going to be covering next week, which will be week 4 of 2005. Let me throw the wheel up on screen here, and let's see what we got. Spin that wheel. It takes a second to load. Okay, there we go. topic will be last year. So that means next week I'm going to be covering a topic about something that occurred last year in history. So stick around for next week's video and have a good evening, morning, whenever you're watching. Bye! Thanks so much for watching today. Again, this is a brand new channel and your likes and subscribes really help me get noticed. I hope to build this channel to a point where it can be monetized and get sponsorships because doing this sort of thing is really fun and I'd like to continue. I'd also love for you to check out my Etsy store if you're interested in supporting my work. I have a variety of original paintings, homemade jewelry, and prints for sale. It's a great way to bring a little creativity into your home. So if you had fun today or you saw something in the Wiki article that maybe someone needs to edit, please comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, stay inspired, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care! You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/wikireviewweekly.